right, Goldmember. Don't play the laughing boy. There are only two things I can't stand in this world. People who are intolerant of other people's cultures and the Dutch.
What?
To be woke is everything, and to be politically divisive is simply to not be woke. Welcome to the Between Two Wheels podcast special dispatch as we discuss the suspension of 19-year-old cycling phenom Quinn Simmons from the Trek Segafredo Pro Cycling Team. This is Tyler Janke. What is today? October 2. Between Two Wheels podcast, episode 204. You're going to hate this? Yeah, I'm just going to do a quick Quinn Simmons update here. Info and see what you think about it. Look, this is some craziness, and I might have a different perspective. And I think I'm going to have to give some disclaimers right up front because most of you people are too, how do I say the word? The binary thinking is all you can do. You're either on one side, or you're on the left, or you're on the other side, you're on the right. And it can just be consistent. And I'm not going to say down the middle. I'm just saying consistent. Am I? I don't know. I tend to be. I try to be. And if you think I'm not on this case, then so be it. But what I am not is I'm not a Trump supporter. I'm not a Biden supporter. I tend to despise them both almost equally. So there's some sides of one I like, some sides of the other I like. You pick which it is. But what I don't like, I'm for ultimate free speech of everybody. I'm for private property. I'm for all kinds of crazy things that you're not going to like. So what's my take on the Quinn Simmons thing? Well, first of all, for those of you who don't know, who is Quinn Simmons? Quinn Simmons is a 19-year-old neo-pro. He is the world champion for the juniors road race in 2019. He has a beard better than most of you. Yes, he does. He's had some really good results in the season. The Pro World Tour ranks. He ranks for Trek Segafredo. He's from Colorado. Evidently, he likes President Trump a lot. He's mostly non-racist. I'm just saying that. Well, anyway, he follows, I guess, Jose Bean. Who is Jose Bean? Well, she's a Dutch journalist. She's quite aggressive online. She had a spat with Chris Froome a few years ago and his wife, at which point his wife called her, Chris Froome's wife called Jose Bean fat. Got a little contentious. Evidently, that was not too decisive or divisive for Ineos to break it off with him. I'm not a fan of her analysis. She's Dutch. Do we like the Dutch? We'll play a clip of the Dutch later. She's very outspoken on her politics, which is perfectly fine. And she works for cycling tips in some capacity. And I think that's somewhat important because that's kind of how one of the big news stories that blew up was from cycling tips. And did they mention her working for them? No, they didn't. Let's talk about the original story. So Quinn Simmons, he's Colorado boy, 19. Once again, I'm going to kind of reiterate this. We can obviously send him overseas to drone bomb and to kill brown people, but he's not quite old enough to drink in this country. And do we give him adult status? I think you do. I mean, with the beard he has, let alone, you've got to give him some status as an adult. He's got his own agency. And what I mean by that is he's himself. He definitely is, but he's still 19. And you do give some of these people, I mean, it's one thing for an adult, let's just say Trump say some crazy things, and Biden, he says some crazy things, and they might be old enough, too old, where you give them a pass. But someone my age, 49, hey, I'm solely responsible for me. And Quinn Simmons, he definitely is. You treat him as an adult for many things, but he's 19 and he's growing up in the social media world, and I think that's significant. But we'll get to some of that. What about the original story here? Let's go to, evidently he was following Jose Bean. I'm not sure who it is. And she said, this is after the election the other night. And she comes on and says on Twitter, my dear American friends. So she's not American, by the way. Because the American election means a lot to the Dutch, I guess. I hope this horrible presidency ends for you and for us former allies too. Were you an ally? Let's think back to World War II. You were conquered by the Germans, quite. I don't know if there was a lot of collaboration there, but I don't know if you were former allies. If you follow me and support Trump, you can go. There is zero excuse to follow or vote for the vile, horrible man. So she's not very nice. And Quinn Simmons says does the bye Felicia thing with a hand. No, that's the big problem, evidently. Simmons was responding. I'm going to read now from Cycling Tips. Simmons was responding from a tweet, a Cycling Tips contributor. So it looks like they've updated that. That was not, I believe, in the original story. Who is Dutch regarding the U.S. presidential debate? Cycling Tips does not prevent its contributors from expressing political views or personal social media accounts. They did not. Kaylee Fretz and Neil Rogers, who's I don't think with them anymore, they definitely say their political points. Trek Segafredo immediately responded on Twitter denouncing Simmons' comments. In response, Trek Segafredo does not condone comments or actions from its writers that add to divisive conversations. The team will work with Quinn to help him understand the appropriate tone of conversation an athlete in his position should maintain. No real problems with that. Racism is unacceptable, period. That's not quite a reply. What's your stance on racism? That's what someone said. So the question is, does his support of Trump mean that he being Quinn, mean he's a racist, or is it the hand emoji? So here's kind of where we get back into it. And let's see if we can, in hours that followed, turn discussion to Trek into the full text of the statement. Trek Segafredo is an organization that values inclusivity and supports a more diverse and equitable sport for all athletes. While we support the right to free speech, we hold people accountable for their words and actions. Regrettably, team writer Quinn Simmons made statements online that we feel are divisive, incendiary, and detrimental to the team, professional cycling, its fans, and the positive future we hope to create for the sport. In response, he will not be racing for Trek Segafredo until further notice. The team and its partners will work together to determine how we will move forward and to keep fans and the public informed the decisions in this matter. Quinn was scheduled for the upcoming Northern Classics for the first time. That's a real bummer. Then they do add this one in there. And this is where I think Cycling Tips and this whole media scrum kind of goes over the top. Okay. It was not Simmons' first racially charged dispute. Okay. Shortly after protests over the murders of black men and women erupted across the United States this summer, American pro Corey Williams, who is black, thank you, posted a series of Instagram posts outlining his excellent junior and espoir results and subsequent lack of selection on the U.S. national development programs. The color of his skin, he said, had played a role in his lack of selection. Okay, so Corey Williams is saying, look, I'm a black guy. I didn't get picked for the selection. I don't remember that he was all that great as a junior. Now, he had some good results, but was this junior track? Was this junior? We don't have a crit championship, so road race is a little bit different. And it'd be interesting to do a breakdown of who were the other riders at that time competing against him. There were some exceptional kids that have come out right around the same time as him. Just saying. I don't know the ones that's in. He may have every correct point here. I don't know why the U.S. would shy away from talent, but that's what it was saying. I've struggled in my career, Williams wrote. Really? I've been one of the top cyclists in America, even at the best of age at one point. I've been national champion, won a stage race overall, won 3 green jerseys, over 20 state championships, and been top 20 at national road races as a junior, and never been able to represent U.S. on the national team. Okay, that kind of sucks. Simmons responded to Williams via direct message. This is a private message saying he simply wasn't fast enough. Could be. Williams then used the screen, so he shared it, and then Simmons later apologized, saying he was defending Billy Innes, the longtime head of the cycling program, not questioning Williams' ability. So Billy Innes really got into it, I guess, and probably lost his job due to that, defending himself at the time. I don't know that was Quinn Simmons' racially charged dispute. Was that a racially charged dispute on Quinn Simmons' part? I don't think so. I mean, he's calling into account his wasn't fast enough. Okay, but here's what we also have as well. American Pro made some statements. Fans for positive future. Why am I not? Oh, here we go. Simmons expressed support for the current U.S. President, Donald Trump, which in itself was not what landed him in hot water. I will talk about that in a little bit. Rather than what it was used, a dark brown emoji, a sort of internet blackface that, and I'm sorry to laugh, internet blackface, at the very least, shows a lack of racial awareness from a white writer. Okay, so we've got, first of all, that's just laying out the story here. Was Trek in the right to do so? Well, they're a private company. They have every right to do so. They have no objections with at all with them putting out standards for their company and how your brand is going to be represented. Absolutely not at all. I mean, if they want to be, let's take some extremes here. If they want to be supporters of, alt-right as an example, or that they could certainly do so. That's their brand that may be hit because of it. If they want to go full woke, like some other companies have done, and support, other causes, far be it from me. That's totally fine. And then it's up to you whether you think that's good or not. They're making a decision here on their rider to suspend him solely based on what they don't want to have happen to their company, which is you not to buy bikes. I talked about this a little while ago with Lance Armstrong, where I said, hey, they had Mellow Johnny's wasn't going to sell bikes anymore to the police department. They were canceling their contracts. They weren't doing that out of, hey, we're taking a principled stand. They didn't want their building and their business to be trashed in part of the rioting. And they also didn't want people coming after them. So that's what they decided to do. Similarly, Trek had an issue with the bikes and the police. They said that the police were using their bikes in a manner not conforming to how they were constructed to be used, which is to pedal and race and lose bike races or what have you. Instead, they were using them to barricade people and maybe pushing them down. So they had trouble with that. First of all, F you, Trek. I can do whatever I want with my bike. I may void the warranty. Kurt Mills sat on the top tube of his BMC a few years ago. It's not something that they recommend. Matter of fact, they wouldn't warranty it when his big ass cracked the top tube. Okay, so that happened. But you can use your bike however you want. Like I said, it just could be voiding the warranty or give them some sort of out of liability if you choose to sue them for that. So look, there was pushback from the BLM movement for Trek, and they made some statements about what they're doing. They're perfectly fine. You can choose whatever you want. And I don't care. As a private business, you can do that as long as there's not government funds going to you. Do what you want. I don't give a crap. So with that said, Trek does what they want, and they're going to reap the consequences because of it. They're either going to get more bikes. Some people online are like, sweet, now that's Trek is forever my company because they took a stance against what they thought was, racist or Donald Trump supporter. And then you have people on the other side that they're like, well, I'm never going to buy a Trek again because of you're not supporting Quinn Simmons due to his interest in Trump. Okay. It's probably going to wash out. No one's really going to give an ass at the time. Now let's talk about the actual thing that was happening here. Was this racist? Because I think that's somewhat important to go on. We just had a shit show of a debate. Two old coddering men get up there and yell at each other, and a lot of lies being spewed both directions. You're going to come at me. One side's going to say no. It's whatever. Fact check them both yourself, not someone else. There's a lot of shit being said that's just not. But you know what? It's politics, and that's what happened. So Jose Bean gets all worked up over it. Quinn Simmons does his hand, and now you have Cycling Tips and other ones saying he's being a racist. Okay. What was the black emoji hand? People have seen that. Have you done that? And I saw someone online saying, I don't, because Quinn Simmons, maybe we'll go right to that. Go to Quinn Simmons's apology and see if we can see where he said, oh, I made a statement here. Let's see. I would like to apologize. Okay. Simmons, I would like to apologize to everyone who found this offensive. Okay, if we go through the thing, they talk about it's being incendiary, the statement's online, they do the screenshot. By the way, Josie Bean, she deleted the tweet. So that's off. As an American rider, I've always been proud to represent my country. Riding for an American team has always been a lifelong dream. A big reason I choose this team was because of the American values behind it, Simmons said. To those who found the color of the emoji racist, I can promise that I did not mean for it to be interpreted that way. I would like to apologize to everyone who found this offensive, as I strongly stand against racism in any form. To anyone who disagrees with me politically, that is fine. I won't hate you for it. I only ask the same. Trek Federal manager Luca Gercalina also addressed the situation for the second time. We hold all Trek staff and management to a high ethical standard, and our athletes are no exception. She said, or he said, whoever that is, we believe that Quinn has a bright future as a professional athlete, and we can use this opportunity for him to grow as a person and make positive contribution for a better future for cycling. We remain committed to helping Quinn as much as we can. Perfect. So once again, I don't know if you've ever seen the great documentary Friday, starring Chris Tucker and Ice Cube, aka Craig Craw Jones. there's a scene in there and it's pretty famous. It's by Felicia. And he didn't reference it here, but my kids do this same exact bye with the hand wave. It's exactly what they mean. And let's see if we with this.
Bye, Felicia.
Y'all fancy.
All right, so there's you have it. The bye Felicia. It's pretty famous, but evidently, according to other people, it's a big horrendous thing. So what do we have here? We have a bunch of white people being upset. That's really what we have. We have Jose Bean. She's a Dutch cyclist or a cycling journalist. She's white. Quinn Simmons, definitely a white cyclist. No black people were harmed in this scenario, or no black people were targeted in this scenario. They were not even involved in this escapade. So is this really a bit? So what's for me when you're saying he's got digital blackface? First of all, no offense, but it's digital black hand. It doesn't work out quite as well because the blackface has the minstrel, the connotations, and the looking back of some really dark parts of our American history, not to mention current Canadian history and West Virginia history of people that have done that. Celebrities, there's all over the place of celebrities recently doing this and having fits. But that's not what he did. He didn't go in blackface. So I'm trying to see the significance. Why would, let's say he was a racist, okay? Let's walk through the steps. What did Quinn Simmons mean to do, this 19-year-old kid, by doing a black hand at her? I don't know if it's in some sort of challenge to, she's saying Trump is black, therefore I'm going to troll her with a black hand. Once again, I think it's by Felicia. I mean, people that are buying into the digital blackface are probably the same people that had a problem with the OK symbol and thinking, Kurt, and thinking that was a big travesty. I don't know if you saw on the Tour de France winner, 21-year-old at the time, Tadej Pogacar. He did an OK thing in the middle of the race, showing that Jose Bean should obviously be concerned about him as well. Well, I don't know. I think the outrage to this is, it's overly wrought with angst. It's probably misplaced. Most of it by these journalists, their malice towards Quinn Simmons, which might be actually worse. The fact that he used a by Felicia wave, and he's not a black man. And once again, I saw on recycling tips here, someone's like, hey, he's using this excuse, and he's coming out with this apology that he didn't intend to do this. And as mind readers, we know better. We know that he meant to do that. That's not a default thing on your phone. And I'm like, actually, I use those all the time with my wife, to the point where those are the default ones. So if you're doing bye Felicia a lot, it's going to be the default thing on your phone. Hey, you want to call me a racist? Go ahead. I don't really give a crap about it, because at this point, I'm not. And the person who knows my heart and my intent is me. And if I've treated you ill will, then maybe you can have something against me. So then you saw some things with this kid. They were replacing the Neopro on his Twitter, because he said Neopro. Someone, screenshotted that and photoshopped it to say neo-Nazi. And, and there's some other things that they were doing. And, that's funny. Friend of mine said that, oh, that's funny. But I mean, I thought Nazis were bad. I didn't think they were funny. And I thought making this leap from black and brown hand to being a Nazi, maybe it downgrades what being a Nazi is. I heard a comedian at the start of the Trump was elected, and he's like, look, I mean, you guys are comparing him to Hitler and to being a Nazi, and I mean, if he falls anything short of being Hitler, he's going to be a success. And you're like, wait, he only gassed 20,000 Jews? You said he was going to be Hitler. I mean, this guy's no Hitler. That's kind of what we're doing here. And actually, probably what you've did, you've instead of downgrading what being a Nazi is, you're kind of raising everything else up to the level of walking on pins and needles. When you tend to make Quinn, and look, we'll talk about his age and all of these other things, but making him out to be some sort of racial animus here is probably a little bit much. And I don't know how that makes you feel on a personal level, but for me to try to, I don't know what this kid's thinking, and I can't reach out to see that this is anything more than maybe a stupid childish mistake. So whatever happens, I mean, we've changed what bad really is. I mean, whatever happened to the good old days when you could just wear a mind numb person could just wear a cool Che Guevara shirt And instead of, having everyone go, oh my God, now you're wearing a shirt of a mass killer of gay, brown people and political dissidents. That's what it's come to. All right. Well, speaking of which, let's talk about Kobe, because I saw some things online. And by the way, I invited some fairly prominent people to come on the podcast to discuss this, and not an angry manner, because I didn't really take any umbrage online. The only thing I said was back to Jose Bean. I just said, hey, he's no Michelle Froome. That might have got deleted too. Not by me. Anyway, what about the comparison to Kobe Bryant? Because, I saw some idiots online. Yes, imagine that. I saw some idiots online. One side was all mad about Quinn being suspended and calling people snowflakes, maybe. Then I saw the same people, the people will find tweets of those people that were all upset about the Kobe Bryant thing and, somewhat calling out the hypocrisy. Yeah, I believe that. But here's the problem with the Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant, in case you don't know, took a knee. Basically, there's all kinds of iterations of what took place there, but he was, by the way, he'd already been benched when he did this, but he was complaining about police brutality. Perfectly fine. If any of you watch the show, you've taken a listen to it, you may see a twinge that I probably, more than you, have more in common and agreement with Kobe Bryant about my feelings and positions about police brutality than you. Okay. Just saying that out there. I've been pretty strong about the way I am. I have no problems with saying those kind of things. I don't know that I think it's necessarily racist. I just think that it's not a pleasant thing to be killing people. And I'm pretty strong about that. However, the problem you have with Kobe Bryant is was it bad taste to wear police pig socks? Yeah. When you're doing a press conference about this or warming up in the field. Yeah, that's probably not the best thing. He wore, though, a Fidel Castro shirt as he's complaining about police brutality. This is a guy that decided that I am so upset about state oppression, I'm going to wear and lionize a shirt of a guy that is known for state oppression. A guy that would kill dissidents, gay people, musicians, anybody, political people, anybody he wanted. And the ultimate, what are the police? They are the enforcers for state oppression, perhaps. And then you've got Fidel Castro. So that was my problem. Once again, the NFL, private business, much like Chuck Sigafredo, they can order you around to do whatever you want. That's kind of their behavior. You want to play in the NFL, you want to work for a company, they're going to have standards and procedures and practices that you're going to have to abide by. They're not the government. Now, there was some money being flouted to the NFL for propaganda for, military and whatnot. Okay, maybe there's a quasi-governmental feel to it at that point, but the First Amendment doesn't apply to private companies. Get over it. They can tell you what to do if you want to work there. Hostile work environment, they can't, obviously there's ADA compliance, there's all kinds of other things they have to deal with, but for that is it. So when Kobe's protesting police violence, and he's wearing pig socks, and he's wearing, I don't care. When he's protesting and the NFL says you can't do that, I don't care. But then again, I get where he's coming from. But once again, private organization, you can do it, figure it out the way. Wearing the Fidel Castro shirt, I think that's where his argument to me goes away. All right, digital blackface. Well, we talked about that. Cycling Tips wrote it. They've changed it now to at least indicate that Jose Bean does work for them. I think digital black hand, I guess, is not as strong. So they decided to say it's a digital blackface. And I think that brings in a lot of heated rhetoric and really puts the issue a little bit more over the top. Now, there were a bunch of articles that said he was fired for, he being Quinn Simmons, not fired, sorry, correct that. He was suspended for being basically a Trump fan. And, people were pushing back on that. And yes, I don't think he was technically suspended for being a fan of Trump. However, you look at Trek's statement there, and they want to be equal. They want to promote their. I did a quick search of their writers online. This was not. This is not an evenly spread, and I'm not calling anybody out because I don't think that's right for me to then say, "What about this person?" You didn't, to try to make the point against Quinn here. There were a lot of writers that took stances that could be controversial, and they took them in ways that could be considered. And once again, you got to remember, Trek Sigafredo also has a female team. So you've got Black Lives Matter. You don't think that that's a divisive issue? You actually had whether there's the organization, then there's the protesters, the rioters going on, or the group, the people that are out there. There's a lot you can have in common with them. But there's some in the organization that you definitely don't have an agreement with. There's this issue that I mentioned earlier with the bikes. So you can take a stand, and these riders have taken stands that probably were offensive to someone out there, I would imagine. And Trek is perfectly fine with that, but that's not a cause that they are against. So when it appears that he's being suspended for his views, which is basically in his mind, he says, bye, Felicia. There's nothing racial going on there. Nothing there. He's actually probably indicates, and there's a lot of people that are probably indicating, yeah, he's getting suspended because he's a Trump fan. I don't think that's great, but yet I don't think that anyone else, all these other writers that, put the black thing up for Black Lives Matter, LGBTQ stuff. Hey, there's a guy winning all these races and women's races. Maybe you don't feel that's great about that, but they support it. You don't think that's divisive as well? Everything's divisive if it's something you don't agree with. So that's you got to toe the line. So what are we going to say about this? Well, first of all, Quinn is young. Cycling wants interesting people. They want the Peter Sagans. They want people that just grasp. Quinn is an amazing rider, and I don't know if he's that great on social media, but kids are in a different world with social media than a bunch of these doddering old people that we have, like running for president as an example. So it's one of them is a child and does pretty good online himself. But so you've got to they want to cause interest, and then when they do, then so what are you going to do? Well, I would suggest for Quinn, don't do it unless you're going to be socially conscious and push the correct narrative. Stay off of social media, win bike races, be boring, be Richie Port and those others, be Chris Froome, win races, put your thumb up a lot for good times, have your wife take someone else online. I also think you should probably find a nice piece, a good girl to focus your attention on a little bit more than these crackpot cycling journalists. And by the way, the cycling journalists, I'm not a big fan of. I mean, some of these people, they say the most ridiculous things online, and then you're trying to just about politics or what have you. I don't really think they're all that smart. And then they go and they're reporting on cycling, and I'm like, you fall for a lot of crap elsewhere. Why am I believing you now? I don't know, but give me the info. That's all I really care about. So these companies want to present their brand, and look. So overall, did Trek do the right thing? You know what? What it does is, I think it's like Groenewegen in the sprint. You got to put a line down. You just DQ someone out. They didn't fire him. They suspended him. Now, they haven't done this fairly because there's other writers. And like I said, I'm not pointing out who I found online. And then they're probably taking shit down as soon as they can now anyway. That they're supporting causes that could be considered divisive. That's just the way it is. You can, some people like some things, some people don't like others. So Trek has probably taken a line that it's good to, they're going to have a standard thing across the board. And at some point, it might help their team just avoid these kind of conflicts. Look, Trek is woke. People suck, and they will trash a rider event no matter what their political point of view is. You think there's lefty riders out there that aren't getting trashed by right-wing people? Of course there are. It's in the cycling world, it's just not that maybe as big a deal. The cycling journalists, they've taken harsh political stances online every day, and they don't really get dinged for it. And big deal. I don't really care about that. Some of the very rude and obnoxious, of course, and I think the Jose Bean, just in general, as their cycling commentary kind of feathers that out. But here we've decided to pin blackface on Quinn Simmons, and I don't think that is helpful to the situation, which is in a way is maybe worse. Pinning him as blackface. It's probably, and I think that was the intent. Make it him actually what you want people to see in this is actually worse than what he actually did. Look, this will pass. When Quinn wins, he'll be forgotten, hopefully. Maybe not like Johnny Moscon. And it's an ugly, ugly time right now in the world, and especially in cycling. I mean, have you seen the EF education jersey for the Giro? That's about as ugly as it gets. Thanks, everyone. Between Two Wheels Podcast, special dispatch, calling up Quinn Simmons.